So our morning started quite early. We got a taxi to the port of Dover. So this is us at the port of Dover arriving at the foot passenger terminal. After we checked in at the port of Dover, we were able to get breakfast at Costa, and then we had to wait in this little area before we were able to get on this bus, which took us to the ship. And Anna's bag was literally flying everywhere around the bus. So although the ferry actually accepts foot passengers, it's impossible to actually walk onto the ferry. So this little bus takes you, and we got to drive past all the cars and get taken on by the bus. But first we got taken to the French passport control area and then onto the ferry. Once on the ferry, we then disembarked and went up to the upper decks where we could find some seating or go outside. So we started off outside. This is us still at the port of Dover. The boat is just about leaving port, and we decided to be outside while we left port just so we could see the White Cliffs. It was pretty cool to see the White Cliffs as we left Dover. It was a 2-hour journey on the ferry for this 21-mile stretch of the English Channel. It was quite busy on the ferry, but we decided to sit in this quieter area. There was no place to store our bags, so we did have to have our cases with us the whole time. And this is us just arriving into the port in Calais. This is the restaurant area on the ferry. We're now docked at the port of Calais, and as foot passengers we had to wait here as a group. All the cars go off first, and then the foot passengers get taken off by the bus again, so there was a little bit of a wait. This is us back on the bus at the port of Calais, and we're just driving, and we get driven off the ferry to the main terminal building. So this is us in the slightly windy port of Calais. We're waiting for an Uber to arrive. The building was pretty cool at the terminal, and the Uber is going to take us into central Calais. This is the central Calais train station. We just got an Uber to drop us off here, and we didn't stay in Calais very long, but there was this one thing that Anna had seen on Google that we thought we'd just have a little look. It was a few minutes walk from the train station. So this is Calais Town Hall. Town Hall also had this stunning garden that we spent some time in. This is a really interesting statue. It is to remember the people of Calais who were under siege by England in 1347. After that, we got another Uber on a 35-minute, 40-minute journey from Calais to Dunkirk. When we originally planned the holiday, we had thought about getting the train, but then realised that they were very infrequent on the Sunday, and so we just did the Uber, but we did realise that before we went. So the Uber dropped us off right at our hotel, and at this point it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We had thought that we could leave our luggage, but when we got to the hotel, we found out that it was closed, and that for some reason they were closed between 12 and 4 p.m, so we couldn't get in to leave our luggage. They had implied by a sign on the door that you could phone a number and they would come, but they didn't come to the door. So instead we decided we'll just walk round to a restaurant, because by this point we just wanted lunch. So we walked round to a local restaurant past this marina area, just a few minutes walk, and got lunch. And then by that point we came back and it was 4 o'clock and they were open. Obviously, the only downside of that is that we had to actually take our suitcases to the restaurant, but it worked out okay. So this is us just in the restaurant about 5 minutes from the hotel, just having lunch and looking out over the beautiful marina. And by the time we finished in the restaurant and walked back to the hotel, it was just after 4 p.m. and we were actually able to get into the hotel and get into our room. It was just a really basic hotel in Dunkirk, so this was our basic room, but it was what we needed for one night, really. After we checked in, we walked about 10 minutes to the Operation Dynamo Museum, but unfortunately they were just about closing for the evening, so we weren't able to get in. But we did go to the shop and Anna bought this little buddy. So instead we walked to the mole on the beach, which we had planned to do the next day, so we kind of swapped it around, did the mole and the beach today, and we went to the museum the next day. So this is where the Operation Dynamo actually took place, where in the Second World War on this beach, British soldiers and French soldiers were trapped by the Germans, and the small ships rescue, where the British kind of sent out lots of small ships to try and rescue the soldiers, and this was the mole or the jetty which the soldiers all lined up on to be rescued during that operation. Although it was windy, very windy, the weather was actually quite nice, and it was really interesting to kind of think how, obviously in the Second World War during that time, just what went on this beach, and being able to visit it and see it in real life. Afterwards, we visited the war graveyard. This is the British graveyard here in Dunkirk. So many of the soldiers here are the British soldiers from that time. And this was the first time that I personally had ever visited a war graveyard. Found it really sad just how many soldiers were buried there where the names or the identities were not actually known. And then that was the end of the day here in Dunkirk, and we went back to the hotel.